Next is about svabhavavyadhipratishedha rasayanam vyakhyatsyamah ithova bhagavandhanantarihi. Svabhavavyadhi is a disease-like condition which occurs naturally and it's inevitable. And as per the text, the jara, that's old age, nidra, that's sleep, and hunger, these are considered as a svabhavajanya. Maybe the word vyadhi may not be used for the nidra and the appetite or hunger, but whereas jara, the old age, is considered as a vyadhi. Now, aging as such, what's the definition of the aging as per the present day situation is aging is a chronic, normal culmination of the loss of specific regenerative and bioprotective mechanism that occurs over time in an organism, which is a natural process as decided by the United Nations as such. Now, in the present day situation, aging and problems of the aging is considered to be one of the major issues, and the United Nations General Assembly has declared 2021 to 30 that decade as UN decade of healthy aging. Now, the whole concept of the modern medicine now is shifting to aging and the prevention of the complications or the troubles which are produced as the complication of the aging, and hence the aging and prevention of the health issues related to the aging are the basic or rather one of the most attention taking aspects of the medicine, and rasayana chikitsa comes in that area. Now, aging again from biological point of view is defined as a biological level. Aging results from impact of accumulation of a wide variety of molecular and cellular damage over time. There is accumulation of cellular damage which occurs naturally, and this leads to a gradual decrease in the physical and mental capacity, a growing risk of disease, and ultimately death as such. So that's about the biological changes which occur in the aging, and hence there is a concept like the aging can be either prevented or at least the aging changes can be corrected. And there again the scope of rasayana comes in as such. Gerontology, now in the current science as such, gerontology is considered as one of the subject as such, which is a study of aging and older adults, and it's in the current situation, current medical situation, it's a multidisciplinary, and it's concerned with the physical, mental, and social aspects of the well-being as such. So from rasayana point of view, this is again the basic issue. Rasayana also has as we have to consider the medhya rasayanas, the rasayanas which can build up the physical body, and the rasayana which can prevent the diseases which can occur, and the clinical effects of the rasayana diseases can be corrected. That's how the rasayana is classified. That's exactly the same copy of the same. And geriatrics is a medical specialty focused on care and treatment of the older patients. So there is two groups or two aspects, gerontology and geriatrics. I think rasayana is much superior to these definitions of the branches as such. The age-related changes in the body, they are now identified, and now there is a possibility of defining the age of the person. And the most important identifiable changes in the cell of a aged cell would be the genetic changes. Genetic changes would be the telomeres of the genes would become shortened, DNAs tend to get damaged, and the expression of the gene would become errors. So these are the identified changes at a micro level of aging as such. In the macro level, the whole body, the proteins become less functional, all the enzymes, they become less functional. Cells, now there is a physiological process called apoptosis. Apoptosis is a cell, once it has reached the maximum life period, it has to die, and giving scope for the new cells to occur. But in the gross body, if the number of cells which have become old and they do not die, there is a failure of apoptosis, that results in accumulation of the old generation of the cells which are functionally inefficient, and hence the aging changes would occur. So the failure of the apoptosis is also one of the changes which occur in the macro body, that's the whole body as such, and the energy production mechanisms of the body would be affected. The communication between one cell to the other also becomes diminished. See, the whole body would have a coordinated, synchronized activity of different tissues, different systems, and this communication becomes affected, and hence each of that synchronized functions of the system would be affected. Everything will be going in a desynchronized fashion in the old age. These are all the changes which are considered as the changes in the old age, or senility changes, defined biochemical changes. Then the metabolism becomes imbalanced, and the stem cells are those totipotent cells which can regenerate into any of the cells of the body. Their number would be lesser as such. And now biomarkers it's possible to define the age of a person, biological age of a person, by identifying the biomarkers. So chemically your age can be decided, but this again there is an issue, a chronological age and a biological age. A chronological age is the age decided by the date of birth. Biological age is the one factor or the changes which occur in the body are identified, and that can predict the approximate changes in the body. And the molecular this kind of a standard of determination of the biological age now is in practice, though it's not in regular practice in our day-to-day activity in our situation, but in Western countries it has become already a regular practice, and maybe in a few years here also we will have this kind of a indices which can decide about the biological age of a person, and hence this is one of the budding area of the medicine. And at present the established measures of the aging which we consider as biomarkers of the aging are the molecular changes in the cells, that's telomere length are considered, and then the changes there are some blood based biomarkers also. I come to that list of that which are considered to be the markers of the aging. So that discipline of defining the this biological age now has become almost well established in the Western medicine, and that gives a scope for correction. But of course in Western medicine the technology has developed to that level where the biological changes and the aging can be defined, but correction and reversal, that's not yet possible. Maybe in future it may be. The other changes which are the other biomarkers which are now used are either image-based biomarkers or clinical measures by which you can assess the functions of the different organs, and there is a finally frailty index as such. The possible future possibility of biomarkers, there is a big list of the possible biomarkers which can be used for the defining the biological age, and this list is exhaustive list, 43 lists. Like it starts with the simple clinical examination of gait, time to get up, and chair raising, grip strength, etc., to the assessment of the finer aspects of the body like the growth hormones, leptin, ghrelin, and so on. So the huge type of assessment of biomarkers are now possible, and a biological age can be defined in due course of time as such, and it can be compared to the chronological age. Chronological age and biological ages now can be defined, and certain of the factors which can accelerate the biological aging than the chronological aging, or which can deaccelerate that, also now are identified. The behaviors, lifestyle conditions like sedentary behavior, lack of sleep, smoking, junk food, stress, these are now proved to accelerate the aging, biological aging. So a person can become much older than his the chronological age if these lifestyle are followed. Whereas the positive influences where the biological ages could be reduced, or at least it can be maintained in synchronization with the chronological aging, are exercise, everyday activity, sleep time, and appropriate nutrition, relaxation techniques. So at present, that aging prevention is mainly related to the lifestyle factors, a pharmacological treatment, pharmacological intervention to prevent the aging still is not possible in the contemporary medicine. And the modification of the genes is one of the area possible. Future, maybe there could be a possibility of genetic engineering where the genes could be altered and hence the aging can be re-established. This is one of the future possibility, though it's not yet done, but lots of experiments are going on. So that's about the aging as such within the current science and as such. Now, from Ayurvedic point of view, the major source for the prevention of the aging is the Amrita or Soma. Now, according to Sushruta, Brahmadayo Asrujan Purum Amritam Soma Sanjitam Jara Mrityu Vinashaya Vidhanam Tasya Vakshate. The Soma is one of the plants which was created by the divine power, gods and so on, to prevent Jara and Mrityu. But unfortunately, the whole Soma is the controversial drug. It's not yet properly identified, though lots of efforts are being done, lots of efforts are done. And the Soma plant, which is supposed to grow in Himalaya as such, there was more detail, very extensive details of the Soma, and in the next chapter you will have many of the other drugs which are Soma-like activities, which are also called as Divya Aushadhis. Such were detailed and their features were described in detail in the Samhitas. But unfortunately, we are not able to make out that. Now, so from the current point of view, these are somewhat maybe theoretical. Now, among the somas which are described, the types of the soma described are Amushman Munjavan Steva, Chandrama Rajata Prabha, Durva Soma Kanyascha Shvetaksha Kanaka Prabha, Pratanavan Talavrantaha Karaviro Amshavanapi, Swayam Prabho Mahasomo Yashchapi Garuda Hrataha, Gayatraha Traishubha Pankto Jagatak Shakwarastada, Agnishtomo Raivatascha Yathokta Iti Samnitaha, Gayatriya Tripadayukto Yashcha Gurupati Ruchyate, Yete Somaha Samakhyataha Vedoktehi Namabhi Shubhaihi. The different Paryaya Padas, names of the Soma as well as the types of the Soma are these Anjavan, Munjavan, Chandrama, etc. And Yete Soma Samakhyata Vedokte Namabhi Shubhihi. Sarvesham Yetesham Eko Vivihi Upasane. Sarve Tidagunastiva Vidhanam Teshu Akshare. In all these varieties of the Soma, or maybe the different names of Soma, the utilization is the same. Technique of utilization is the same and the advantages gained also are the same. Now lots of research, as I told you, lots of researches are going on and many people, majority of the people consider Ephedra gerardiana, which is available in the Himalayas, as the Soma, but it is not really having the same property as the Soma. So I don't agree that it is a perfect Soma, but as per the current version, this is the one plant which is considered to be maybe alternative to the Soma which is available now. But Ephedra gerardiana is used in Nepalese folk medicine as a rasayana or as a rejuvenator. But it is a major source of ephedrine and it enhances the total adrenergic activity in the body, pharmacological activity. And hence, I won't consider this as a real Soma which can really reverse the aging process as such. Anyway, that's about the current available knowledge of the Soma. Beyond that, I think I don't know exactly what is the Soma and nobody has really identified the correct Soma as mentioned in Sushruta. In the next few slokas, you will come to that clear-cut biological description of the Soma plant, and that kind of a plant, as per the current biological knowledge, is not yet identified. Maybe in future somebody may identify and then you may get the Soma. So hence, for the present, it's only theory. Now the technique of using the Soma, ato anyasamam somam upayuksho sarvopakarana paricharakopetah prashaste deshe trivrutam agaram karayitva Hritadosha Prati Samsista Bhaktah Prashasteshu Titi Karana Muhurta Nakshatreshu Amsumantam Adaya Adbha Karakalpena Ahrutam Abhishutam Abhihutam Chat Antaragare Krita Mangala Swasti Bachanaha Somakandam Surna Sutya Vidarya Payo Grunyata सौवर्णे राजते वा पात्रे अञ्जलिमात्रं ततः सकृते उपयुञ्जित न अखादयन् तथा उपस्पृश्य शेषम् अप्सु अवसाद्य नियमाभ्याम् आत्मनो संयोज्य वाग्यतः अभ्यन्तरतः सुहृद्भिः उपास्यमानो विहरेत्. The technique of using the soma would be, it is like the kuti praveshkar sayana. You have to have a 3-layered room or a structure for the sustenance during the consumption of the soma, and the soma has to be collected in an optimum time. Prashasrati Nakshatra is an optimum time, and it has to be collected by the person who has to consume the same person has to go and get the soma collected from the area, and once the soma is collected at the right time, the tuber of the soma has to be punctured or penetrated with a gold needle, and the latex which flows out has to be collected, and you have to consume one anjali of the soma latex immediately without biting it, swallow, just gulp it, and whatever is left over, it has to be kept in water, and you have to follow all the regulations which are followed, and with the limited speed, and you have to live in a very controlled lifestyle as such. रसायनं तु पीतवांस्तु निमाते तन्मना शुचिः आसीत तिष्ठेत् क्रामेत् च न कथञ्चन सम्मिश्येत्. After consumption of the rasayana, you have to be dedicated, or maybe having all the strict restrictions, and should remain in the same room, kuti as such, should not come out, and you should only sit or maybe move within the room, but don't come out, don't mix with the lots of other people. Sayam va bhaktavaन् upashruta shantihi कृशशय्यायां कृष्णादिनोत्तरायां सुहृद्युपस्यमानः शयित तृषितो वा शीतोदकमात्रां पिबेत् अशनायितो वा क्षारं ततः प्रातरुत्थाय उपश्रुतशान्तिः कृतमङ्गलो गां स्पृष्ट्वा तथैव आसीत तस्य जीर्णे सोमे छर्दिः उत्पद्यते ततः शोणिताक्तं कृमिव्यामिश्रं छर्दितवते सायं श्रुतशीतं क्षीरं वितरेत् ततः तृतीये अह्नि कृमिव्यामिश्रम् अतिसार्यते सत्येन अनिष्टप्रतिग्रहभुक्तप्रभृतिभिः विशेषैः विनिर्मुक्तशुद्धतनुः भवति ततः सायं स्नाताय पूर्ववदेव क्षीरं वितरेत् क्षौमवस्त्रात् आस्पृतायां च यनां शय्यायां शायेत् ततः चतुर्थे अह्नि तस्य श्वयतुः उत्पद्यते ततः सर्वाङ्गेभ्यः कृमयः निष्क्रमन्ति ततश्च शय्यायां पांशुभिः अवकीर्यमाणः शयित ततः सायं पूर्ववेद क्षीरं वितरेत्. The protocol of what are the things to be done on the first day of consumption of the soma, the person has to lie down in over the krishnajana, a leather bed prepared out of the leather of animal, and if he feels thirsty, he has to consume only cold water. If he feels hungry, he has to consume kshara. Then the next day, after getting up, he has to worship the cow, and the person will develop vomiting. The chardi would occur, the vamana would occur, and in the vamana there could be even blood, hematemesis, as well as the whatever the organisms which are in the body, they would be expelled out. And in the evening again, you have to consume milk, shrutashidam, cold milk has to be consumed. And the third day, there will be atisara. The patient would pass the stools out, liquid stools, along with the krimis, all that infective organisms, they are expelled out of the body. Then the next day, he has to consume light food, anishta pratigraha bhukta, that's should not have any harmful effects. Such substances can be consumed, and again in the evening, again kshiram vitareta, the milk has to be consumed, and he has to lie down on a silk bed as such, and then on the fourth day he will develop edema, pedal edema would occur, and from that pedal edema point of view, all the other organisms throughout the body would be expelled out, and on that night he has to sleep over sand bed has to be used, and then again he has to consume kshira, milk. Panchama Shashtiyoho Divasayo Varteta. Similarly, that same has to be continued for 5th and 6th day. Kevalam Ubhayakalam must make Kshiram Vitareta. For both these 5th and 6th day, only twice milk has to be consumed. ततः सप्तमे हनि निर्मांसत् त्वगस्तिभूतः केवलं सोमपरिग्रहादेव उच्छ्वसिति ततश्च क्षीरेण सुकोष्ठेन परिशिच्य तिलमधुकचन्दन अनुलिप्तदेहं पयप्पायेत् ततो अष्टमे हनि प्रातरेव क्षीरपरिशिक्तं चन्दनप्रदिग्धगात्रं पयप्पाययित्वा पांशुशय्यां समुत्सृज्य क्षौमवस्त्रास्थितायां शय्यायां शायेत् ततो अस्य मांसम् आप्यायते त्वक् च अवदलति दन्तनखरोमाणि चास्य पतन्ति तस्य नवमदिवसात् प्रभृति अणुतैलभ्यङ्गः सोमवल्ककषायपरिषेकः ततो दशमे अहनि एतदेव वितरेत् ततो अस्य त्वक् स्थिरतामुपैति एवम् 11-12 वर्तेत ततः 13 प्रभृति सोमवल्ककषायपरिषेकः एवम् आषोडशात् वर्तेत ततः 17-18 दिवसयोः दशनाः जायन्ते शिखरिणः स्निग्धवज्रवैडूर्यस्फटिकप्रकाशाः समाः स्थिराः सह्यष्टमः तदा प्रभृति च अनमैः शालितण्डुलैः क्षीरयवागोमुपसेवित यावत् 25 इति. The protocols which are to be followed every day. On 5th and 6th day he has to be given only milk, and 7th day the body's tissues like the flesh and the bone tissues would be only left over. All the other tissues will be gradually deteriorating, and he may just survive only because of the soma parigraha, the consumption of the soma. Otherwise he will not survive, and that breathing would be depending only on that, so he will become emaciated. All the other tissues will be rejuvenated or rather deteriorated, and then you have to give him bath with milk and apply tilamadhuka chandana etc. And 8th day again this chandana has to be applied, and kshira snana bath with the milk has to be continued, and he has to again lie down on the pamshushaya, that's a brick bed. Then it has to be left out, that pamshushaya, that sand bed and brick bed has to be avoided. Then you have to come into the silk bed, soft bed. Then from that day onwards there will be regeneration. All the other tissues like mamsa and tvakcha, skin, even dantana karoma, hairs and teeth also would be followed out. And from 9th day onwards he has to be given anutela abhyanga and bath with the somavalka kashaya, and from this same has to be continued 10th day. From 10th day onwards there will be a rejuvenation of the tissues. Tissues will be starting growing, new skin would develop, skin becomes firm, and there will be newer tissue developing, and the same has to be followed up to 16th day, and 17th, 18th and 19th day gradually there will be new development of the hairs, which are something like the diamond, shining like diamond or spatika, and they are very strong, and gradually the patient has to be changed over to the normal diet like shali tandula kshira yavagu etc. ततो अस्मि तद्यात् शाल्यो दिनं मृदुभयकालं पयसा ततो अस्य नखाः जायन्ते. From that day onwards there will be, you have to give other solid food, then the person will develop, nails will be developed, and the nails will be like vidruma indragopa tarunadik aditya prakashaha. The nails would be like coral, or maybe red as that of indragopa, or as shining as that of rising sun. Sthiraha snigdaha lakshana sampannaha keshascha sukshmaha jayate. The hairs will become firm, and they will be having all the healthy signs. Tvakcha nilotpala atasi pushpa vaidurya prakashaha. Skin will be having the color of nilotpala, atasi pushpa etc. Urdhvam ja masat kesham vapayet. By 1 month you will have to start combing the hairs. Vapayitva ja ushira chandana krishna tilakalkehi shira pradishyat payasava snapayet. Then you apply the lepa of ushira chandana over the skull, and maybe take the bath with the milk. ततो अस्ति अनन्तरं सप्तरात्रात् केशाः जायन्ते ब्रह्मराञ्जननिभाः कुञ्चिताः स्थिराः स्निग्धाः. Then the hairs will grow stronger and they will become black in color like Anjana. ततः त्रिरात्रात् प्रथम अवसत परिसर निष्क्रम्य मुहूर्तं स्थित्वा पुनरेव प्रविशेत्. For a moment, from that day onwards, he has to come out for a moment and then again enter back into the same kuti. ततो अस्ति बलातैलम् अभ्यङ्गार्थे अवचार्यं यवपिष्टम् उद्वर्तनार्थे सुखोष्णं च पयः परिषेकार्थे अजकर्णकषायम् उत्सादनार्थे सोशीरं कूपोदकं स्थानार्थे चन्दनम् अनुलेपार्थे आमलकरस विमिश्राश्च अस्य यूषसूपविकल्पाः क्षीरमधुकसिद्धं कृष्णतिलम् अवचारणार्थे एवं दशरात्रं. For the next 10 days he has to follow these protocols of the substances which can be used for application, bathing and food as such. ततो अन्यत् दशरात्रं द्वितीये परिसरे वर्तेत. From that day onwards, next 10 days he has to come out of the core room, come to the second room. See, there will be 3 layers in the room, and the first layer, the core layer, he has to survive for so many days, 10 days plus 26 days. So 36 days he has to stay in the core room, then come out for 10 days in the second core room, peripheral room. That's where he has to live. And Tritiya Parisare, on the third room, he has to come, and then next 10 days he has to live in that third room as such. Tadas Tritiya Parisare Sthirikuvan Atmanam Anyat Dasharatam Ashita Kinchit Atapavanan Vaseveta. Slightly he has to get exposed to the sunlight and the surroundings. Punashanta Pravisheta Nata Atmanam Adarshe Apsua Nidishe the Rupashalitpata. He should not look at the mirror or water, so should not see his reflection, because his presentation will be so beautiful. Tato anyat dasharatram krodhadiyam parihareta. You should avoid all emotional disturbances. एवं सर्वेषाम् उपयोगविकल्पः विशेषस्तु वल्ली प्रतानक्षय क्षुपकादयः सोमाः ब्राह्मणक्षत्रियवैश्यैः भक्षयितव्याः. तेषां तु प्रमाणम् अर्धचतुष्कप्रमुष्टयः. That's the protocol of following the Soma Rasayana, which is quite difficult, and maybe probably it may not be possible to follow the same in the present day situation. Then the doses of that Soma, Valli Soma, it has to be consumed in a Ardha Chatushka Mushti. 4 half Mushti is the quantity. Amshvantam Savarne Patre Abhishunuyat Chandramasam Rajate Tavu Vaidya Ashtagunam Aishwaryam Avapya Ishanam Devam Anupravishati Shesham Sutamamaya Mrunmayava Rohiteva Charmani Vitate Shudravarjam Tribihi Varnehi Somaha Upayaktabhyaha. Soma has to be considered or consumed in a silver vessel, golden vessel, or maybe the other tamra, copper vessel, or maybe the earthen pot, or even leather content, depending upon the type of the soma as discussed. And of course, there was a restriction of the soma to be used in the upper class. Lower class was avoided during that period. The word soma also has a different meaning in the Rigveda and Yajurveda. Soma relates to a drink, a beverage, which is prepared and consumed as a part of the yaga. But from Ayurvedic point of view, soma is a plant. But there is a bit of overlapping of these two issues. Here it may be related to that Vedic soma, which is consumed as a part of the yaga. ततः चतुर्थे मासे पौर्णमास्यां शुचौ देश ब्राह्मणार्थे कृतमंगलो निक्षाम्य यथाक्तं व्रजेति. By 4th month he has to come out and then live the normal life. औषधीनां परिं सोमं वैद्यविचक्षणः 10 वर्षसहस्राणि नवां धारयतेतं. So by using the soma in the same protocol, you will live 10,000 years. So, and the whole body will be as young as in the beginning. Nagnihi, natoyam, namisham, nashastram, na astramevaja. Tasya alam ayukshapane samarthani bhavantihi. Neither fire nor water, no poison or the weapons can harm him or can kill him. Bhadranam, Shashtivarshanam, Prasadanam, Manekada, Kunjaranam, Sahasrasya Balam, Samadhigachati. he will have the same strength of 1000 elephants and can have lot of welfare activity. Kshirodam Shakrasadanam Uttaramscha Kurunapi Yatra Ichhati Sagantum Va Tatra Apratihita Gatihi. He can go to anywhere. He can go to heaven, he can go to Indra's palace or anywhere without being restricted anywhere. Kandarpaiva Rupena Kantya Chandraivaparaha Prahladeshi Bhutana Manamsi Mahadyutihi. He will be as good as a Kandarpa, that's Kama Deva, looking as handsome as a Kama Deva, and or maybe as beautiful as that of the moon, and looking at him itself is a pleasure. Sambho Pandascha Nikilan Vedan Vindatatraha Charati Amogha Sankalpaha Devachakhilam Degata. Every Veda will be understood by him, and he will be compared to the Devas, the gods as such. Sarvesh, now that's about the advantages of the Soma consumption. The identification, biological identification of the Soma plant is here. Sarveshema Somanam Patrani Dashapanchaja Tani Shukleja Krishneja Jayante Nipatanticha. The Soma plant would have 15 leaves, and the leaves would grow during the Shukla Paksha. Every day one leaf would grow, and in the Krishna Paksha every leaf would be falling down. So at the end of the Krishna Paksha, in the Amavasya day, there will be no leaves, and on Purnami day there will be 15 leaves. Ekam jayate patram somasya aharaha prada shuklasya purnamasyam tu bhavet panchadashachadaha. So Shukla Paksha Purnami day it will have 15 leaves. Then Amavasya Divasa Shirite Patram Ekekam Divase Punaha Krishna Paksha Kshaye Chapi Lata Bhoti Kebala. On new moon day there will be no leaves as such. Amshman Adyagandastu Kandaban Rajata Prabha Kadali Akara Kandastu Munjavan Lashunachadaha Chandrama Kanaka Bhasaha Jale Charati Sarvada Garuda Hudanamata Shvetashram Apipanduro Sarpa Nirmoka Sadrusho Tau Vrikshagro Avalambino तथा अन्ये मंडलेश्चित्रैः चित्रिता इव भान्तिते सर्व एव विज्ञेयाः सोमाः पंचदशक्षदाः क्षीरकन्दलतावन्तः पत्रैः नानाविधैः स्मृताः. Now, all the differences in these different varieties of the soma would be by looking at its shape of the tuber or the type of the creeper, pattern of the creeper. Kadali Akarakandastu Munjavan. Munja is having the root tuber like that of the kadali, banana as such, whereas Amshman and Ajaganda would have root like that of the silver, whitish color, and Chandrama Kanakabhasa, Chandrama Soma would have golden like tuber, and Garuda Hata would be Shwetaha, whitish color. Sarpa Nirmoka Sadrisha, very thin leaves would be seen in, and the leaf, that creeper would be having climbing the other trees in Chitritaha variety. So those are the biological identifications, but these biological identities are not possible. As far as the Epheterogyriadenia, it has a property of developing the leaves during summer, and in the winter the leaves would be off. The image which I have shown you earlier, it doesn't have the leaves. That's how it's seen in winter. Though it's not that the leaves would be 15 or numbers are not so defined, and moreover the leaves would not fall or grow every day. So that's not true. But in Himalayan range, that those who are extremely cold environment, it's a common nature, like many of the plants would be losing their leaves during winter, and in summer they grow the leaves. So somehow the people have identified that ephedra as the soma. Now, the areas where the soma would grow are Himavati, Arbude Sakhye, Mahendra Malayatura, Sriparvati Devagiro, Giro, Devasahetura, Pariyatre Vindhecha Devasunde Hradetuta, Uttarena Misastayaha, Pravardha E Mahigaraha, Panchadesha Madhu Madhye Sindhunama Mahanaraha, Hatavat Plavate Tutra Chandrama Somasattamaha, Tasya Uddesheshu Sapyasi Munjavan Amshmanapi, Kashmire Sarodivyam Namna Shudrakamanasam, Gayatra Traishubha Panto Jagata Shakurastha, Atra Santyapare Chapi Soma Soma Sampraha. Geographic areas where the soma is available are mentioned, and but many of these geographical areas are not possible to be identified. Some of them are Vindhya, Kashmir, these are identified, and there is a big or rather a huge information about the possible identification of these areas which are mentioned in the Veda as well as in the literature is available, but many of these literatures are confusing as none of them are very confirmatory except a few areas like the Kashmir or the Vindhya, these are Sindhu, these are identified, many are not. येश्चात्र मन्दभाग्यैस्ते विशदश्च अपमानिताः न तान् पश्यन्ति अधर्मिष्ठाः कृतघ्नाश्चापि मानवाः भेषजद्वेषिणश्चापि ब्राह्मणद्वेषिणस्तदा. Even if the trauma is growing in the area, these people who do not have that maybe that few luckless people, mandabhagya, people without luck as it, and those who are not worthy of considering as Vaidyas, Apamanita Bhishak, or Adharmishta, those who do not follow the Dharma, our regular practices, social practices, Kritagnaha, those who do not have that gratitude, Bheshata Dveshana, those who hate the Bheshata, they will not be able to see the Soma. So if you have to be able to identify Soma, you should have those properties. And now the people are not able to identify Soma because no one has the same properties. Iti Sushruta Samhitayam Chikitsasthane svabhavavyadhipratishedha rasayana chikitsanam ekonavimshatihi adhyayah. Next is about Nivritta Santapya Rasayanam Vyakhyasthayamaha. One more of the chapter of the Rasayana asset. Nivritta Santapya Rasayana is a prevention of the disease as well as treating the effects of the disease later. Here again you will have the same issue. Most of the things become now somewhat theoretical. So we will just be casual. Yatha nivritta santapa modante dividevataha tata aushadhihi ima prapya modante bhuvimanavaha. As per our mythology, the gods, devata, they do not have any disease. They never have disease and they do not age as such. Now, similarly, you can live here by using the aushadhis which are mentioned in this chapter. Athakalu saptapurusha rasayanam no upayinjiranna. Persons who are not subjected, should not be subjected to rasayana chikitsa are 7 types according to Sushruta, and they are anatmaman, those who do not have the willpower, alasaha, those who are lethargic, daridraha, who do not have the resources, pramadi, who is confused, and vesani, who has addicted, who is addicted to papakrita, who does sins, beshajapamani, who doesn't respect the medicine. These are not to be given rasayana. Reasons are ajnanat, anarambhat, asthira chittatvat, daridryat, anayatatvat, adharmat, aushada alabhatyeti. Other aushadhi vyakhyasayamaha. Now again, another of the confusing issue. The names of the 18 aushadhis which are comparable to Soma. But again, there is a lot of confusion about these names. Tatra Ajagari, Shweta Kapoli, Krishna Kapoti, Gonasi, Varahi, Kanya, Chhatra, Atichhatra, Karenuhu, Aja, Chakraka, Adityaparni, Brahma Suvarchala, Stravani, Mahastravani, Golomi, Ajalomi, Mahavegavati, Ashtadasha, Somasama Viryaha, Mahaushadha Vyakhyataha. 18 different types of the plants are mentioned, but most of the Nighantus which are written later, they are not really mentioning these drugs either, or many of these words are used as synonyms of some other drugs which are used, like Kanya is a synonym for Sariva, Golomi is a synonym for Madhyasti, but that may not be the real Mahaushadhis which are mentioned here. So there is a lot of confusion issue. Practical identification of these plants is not yet possible. Tasam somavat kriyashihi stutayah shastra abhitaha. Their advantages are as good as that of the soma. Tasam agare abhitanam tu kshiravatyah tasam kshirakodavam sakrade upayujita yastu akshiraha moolavatyah tasam pradeshini pramanani trini kandani pramanam upyoge श्वेत कापोति समूल पत्र भक्षयितव्या कोनसी अजकरी कृष्ण कापोतीनां सनख मुष्टिं खंडश कल्पयित्वा क्षीरेण विपाच्य परिस्राव्य अभिघारितम् अभिहुतं च सकृदेव उपयुज्यत चक्रकायाः पयःसकृदेव ब्रह्मसुवर्चला सप्तरात्रम् उपयोक्तव्या भक्ष्यकल्पेन शेषाणां पञ्चपञ्चफलानि क्षीराटकक्वथितानि प्रस्थे अवशिष्टे अवतार्य परिश्राव्य सकृदेव उपयुञ्जित. The consumption dosage of these drugs and the type of the consumption are varying. Some of them the latex has to be consumed, in some the dry piece has to be consumed, in some you have to prepare a bhaksha food and then consume. So, but all of them now become theoretical because we do not have these resources. सोमवद आहार विहार व्याख्यातो केवलं नवनीतम अभ्यंगाते शेषम सोमवद anirgamat. The other protocols are to be followed as in case of the soma. The only variation is for application of the body it's a navanita. Butter has to be applied, not the others. Bhavanti jata ivanam simha vikrantam krantam shutanigadinam kuryuhu ete kramena divsahasra ayusham naram angadi kundali mauli divyasrak chandanambaraha charati amogha sankalpaha nabhasi ambuda durgame व्रजन्ति पक्षिणो येन जललम्बश्च तोयदाह गतिः सौषधिश्च सोमसिद्धे गतिः परा. So by consuming these drugs and following the protocol, you will be having you will become as brave as that of lion. And Shrutanigadi, the moment you hear anything, you will be remembering that, and you will live for Dvisahasrayusham, 2000 years. And the physical Angadi is a jewel which is kept on the arm, ring like structure. Kundali is the bangles. Then Mauli, Kirita, Divas, Chandana, these are all the different jewels which are used, and with this you can even fly over the sky, or you can move into a dense forest without any harm as such. Atha Uksham Vijnanam Aushadyanam, the details, shape or biological identification of these 18 plants are mentioned. Again, this becomes more theoretical, so we will casually read that. Mandalai Kapileshchitrai Sarpabha Panchaparanini Pancha Aratni Pramanacha Vijnaya Ajagari Budehe. Ajagari would have multiple spots over the leaf, and the leaves, creeper would be like Sarpa, moving like Sarpa. Then Nishpatra Tanakabhasa Mude Dvangala Samhita Sarpakara Lohitanta Shvetakaputi Vichete. Shvetakaputi Vichete. Shvetakaputi will be having blue leaves and having golden color, and has again Sarpakara, shape of a serpent. Viparnini Mulabhava Arunam Krishnamandalam Dviratni Mantram Janiyat Gonasim Gonasakrim. Gonasi would have two leaves, and it starts from its root as such. So that's it about the identification. Sakshiram Romasham Dudbim Rasena Ikshurasopamam Evam Ruprasam Chapi Krishna Kaputim Adisheta. Krishna Kaputi would have a lot of latex which is like that of the sugarcane juice. Krishna Sarpa Swarupena Varahi Kanda Sambhava. Varahi Kanda would have like the shape of a Krishna Sarpa. Ekapatra Mahavirya Bhidna Anjana Samaprabha Chatra Atichatrake Vidyat Rakshubne Kanda Sambhave. Chatra and Atichatraka would have one leaf, and they will be dark black in color. Jara Mritti Nivaranyo Shweta Kapudi Samsire Kanti Dwadashabik Patri Mayura Angaruhe Upamehi Shweta Kaputi, and you will have may have Kanti Dwadashabik Patri, attractive 12 leaves which are like Mayurangara, like that of peacock color. Kandaja Kanjana Kshiri Kanya Nama Mahoshri. Kanya would be having a tuber which has a latex like that of a golden color latex. Karenu Subhakshira Kandena Gajagopini. Karenu would have the shape of elephant. The tuber would have a shape of elephant and it have lot of latex. Hasikarna Parashasya Tuleparana Viparnini. Viparnini would be having a leaf which is like an elephant's ear. Ajastana Bhakandacha Sakshira Shuparupini. The Shuparupini would have Ajastana like shaped tuber. Aja Mahoshri Jnaya Shankaka Induka Pandura Shwetam Vichitra Kusumam Kakadanya Samam Kshpam. Kakadani like leaf is seen in Mahoshri, Aja Mahoshri. Chakraka Mahoshri Vidyat Jaramrati Marini Mulini Panchabhipatri Suraktam Shukrakomalaihi. That's again the different shapes of the chakraka. Aditya Parinini Jayasara, Aditya Anuvartini. Kanakabha Jalanteshu Sarvata Parisarpati. Aditya Parinini, the leaves would always move towards the sun direction, move in the direction of the sun. Kanakabha Jalantesh, Kanaka, and it will have the appearance of golden leaf, and it grows near the water resources. Sakshira Padmini Prakya Devi Brahmaswarchala Aratni Matrakshupaga Patrihi Dravyangula Sammidehi. And again, Brahmaswarchala shape. Then Pushpai Nilotpalakarehi Palesha Anjanasanibi Shravani Mahati Jaya Kanakabha Payasuni Shravani Pandura Bhasa Mahashravani Lakshana Shravani and Mahashravani their shapes. Golomicha Adalomicha Romashe Kandasam Bhave Hamsapadi Vichidnehi Patri Mulasumudbhi Athava Shanka Pushpyacha Samana Sarupada Vegena Mahata Avishta Sarpa Nirmoka Sanibha Yesha Vegavati Nama Dayati Ambudakshay. These are the different shapes as it. सप्तादौ सर्परूपिण्यौ ह्य औषधौ या प्रकीर्तितः तासाम् उद्धरणं कार्यं मन्त्रेणानेन सर्वदा महेन्द्र रामकृष्णानां ब्राह्मणानां गवामपि तपसा तेजसा वापि प्रशां युद्धं शिवाय वै मन्त्रेणानेन मतिमान् सर्वा एवाभिमन्त्रेत अश्रद्धधानैः अलसैः कृतज्ञैः पापकर्मभिः नैव आसादयितुं शक्याः सोमाः सोमसमास्तदा. The soma drugs, they have to be collected after uttering the mantra. As such, without mantra, you are not supposed to do that, and those who do not have a faith in it, and those who are lethargic, and those who are not having the gratitude, or those who are sinners, they cannot get this soma. Pitavashesham amrutam deva brahma purogamehi nihitam soma viryasu somye chapi aushadhi pato devasunde hridavare tata sindho mahade drishyate cha jalanteshu medhya brahma suvarchala. The geographical locations these are available, and these are considered to be the residue of the amrita which is consumed by the devas, gods as such. So I think we'll just casually read it. Aditya Parnini Jaya Tasaiva Himasamchaye Drishyate Ajagari Nityam Gonasicha Ambudagame Kashmire Sarodivim Namna Kshutraka Manasam Kareno Tatra Kanya Chitra Chatrake Golomicha Adalomicha Mahati Shravani Tata Vasante Krishna Satpakya Gonasicha Pradashite Kaushikim Saritam Tirtva Sanjay Nityasto Purvataha Somapchatra Vasteta Palam Tavacha Kirtiram Sarvaha Vijayaha Tu Oshadaya Somaschapi Arbude Giro Sashungihi Devacharitihi Ambudan Anik Bhidivi Vyaptaha Tirtesha Vikhyatihi Siddha Rishisvarasevihi Gushyabhi Bhimarupabihi Simha Unnajita Kushibihi Gaja Alodita Toyabihi Apagabhi Samantata Vividehi Datapischitrehi Sarvatra Eva Upashopita Nadishu Shaileshu Saraschapi Punyeshu Aranyeshu Tada Ashmeshu Sarvatra Savaha Parimargidavya Sarvatra Bhumiri Vasunidatte. Soma can be cultivated in the areas where there is plenty of water, and we have environment which is having the different wild animals, so on. So that's a forest-like animals. It can be cultivated even. Iti Sushru Semitam Chikitsasthane Nivurta Santapiyam Rasayanam Trimshodhyayaha. So with this we will continue, close this Rasayana chapter. Majority of these Rasayana topics, they become somewhat irrelevant now. Was the procedure followed only for men? We don't know. But most of the times the description is about men. So it's a general statement, like whenever it's not only in Sushruta or only in Indian mythology, even in Western culture, whenever we refer to a human being, most of the times you use the word like he as such, not the common words. Of course, there is a feminine movement is on, and a lot of movements are there to find gender equal or gender neutral words as such. So that's a different issue. But majority of the text would always refer to the human being as a he. So it doesn't mean that it's not used in the females. Then there is another question. Nowadays, practically, which all Rasayana yogas can be used in biological age? Of course, that the main thing is, as per the current knowledge, main thing is about the lifestyle by which you can preserve the biological age. Then, in the present day situation, you will have plenty of Rasayanas available in the form of Brahmanaushadis. See, in the later Shargara Samhita and in the Vaishya Ratnavali, you have plenty of Rasayanas like Chavanaprasha, Pushmanda Rasayana, and so on. Such drugs are used, and they are Ashwagandha, and so on, hundreds of such drugs. And referring or making a list of that is also quite exhaustive. From the current point of view, whatever we are discussing about Sushruta Samhita as such, and hence I have not referred to that part. But that question, like which are the drugs which could be used as rasayana now, that would have a different sort of answer, which is quite elaborate. But in brief, it is you have plenty of rasayanas which are available as different yogas in different textbooks, and they can be used as such, right? Right. Okay, we'll conclude now.